In a city buzzing with activity and connectedness, Alex found himself adrift in an ocean of solitude. The streets pulsed with life, packs of friends laughed and shared secrets, while families strolled, clutching hands and enjoying the simple pleasures of life. Yet, within this vibrant landscape, Alex felt a profound disconnection. He inhabited a small, cluttered apartment filled with the remnants of half-written stories and scattered notebooks. It was an oasis of silence amidst the chaos outside. As a young writer, Alex poured his heart into crafting tales that stirred the imagination. However, inspiration eluded him, and his creativity waned. He often turned to the internet, a double-edged sword that offered connection yet deepened his feelings of isolation. Late at night, with a glowing screen as his only companion, he began his pilgrimage through the darker corners of online forums, spaces where curiosity and horror intertwined. There, he discovered discussions that revolved around the macabre, tales of cannibalism, forbidden desires, and the grotesque. It fascinated him, drawing him in like a moth to a flame. He felt a strange allure toward these stories. A mixture of revulsion and intrigue sparked his imagination. In these virtual realms, he conversed with like-minded souls, where anonymity allowed for candor. While others discussed dull realities, they explored the limits of morality and the shadows of the human psyche. Despite the chilling content, Alex found solace in these discussions. The darkness provided a thrill that his mundane life lacked. Yet, as he engaged deeper, a creeping sense of dread washed over him. What began as simple curiosity morphed into an obsession that blurred the lines between reality and fiction. He found himself questioning not only the nature of his interests, but also his own sanity. Little did he know, he was on the precipice of something far darker than he could ever imagine. One evening, while scrolling through yet another dark forum, Alex stumbled upon a link that piqued his interest, a hidden website dedicated to discussions of cannibalism and extreme practices. The homepage was adorned with unsettling images and provocative headlines that promised a deep dive into the most forbidden topics. Hesitant but intrigued, he clicked the link, the screen lighting up the dim room with its eerie glow. The site was unlike anything Alex had encountered. Users posted stories that ranged from the bizarre to the grotesque, their words dripping with both excitement and dread. Each post tugged at the corners of his mind, igniting a conflagration of curiosity that he couldn't extinguish. As he read, his heart raced. Was this the inspiration he had been seeking? It was within this murky online community that he first came across Marco. The user's profile picture displayed a man with an inviting smile but eyes that hinted at something darker. Marco's posts captivated Alex, showcasing a wealth of knowledge about the macabre, tinged with a jest that belied the seriousness of his subject matter. He wrote with a flair that made the horrors he described seem both thrilling and accessible. Fascinated, Alex began to engage with Marco in the comment sections. Their exchanges were electrifying. Marco's charisma shone through in every word. It wasn't long before Marco messaged Alex privately, expressing admiration for his thoughts and insights. He encouraged Alex to share more, revealing a shared appreciation for the depths of human desire and fear. As days turned into weeks, their correspondence intensified. Marco would often hint at his own unique fantasies, his willingness to explore the extreme edges of experience. Each message was like a thread pulling Alex deeper into an intriguing web of curiosity and courage. The allure of the unknown was irresistible. The happy chatter of mundane life outside his window faded, replaced by a burgeoning obsession with the dark musings of a man he had never met. Despite the joy that came from their exchange, a nagging voice within Alex whispered warnings. It cautioned him about the dangers of embracing such a world where boundaries blurred and reality threatened to become an amalgamation of desire and dread. But the thrill of the dangerous drew him in deeper. As the days turned into weeks, Alex's conversations with Marco became the highlight of his existence. Each message they exchanged was electric, charged with a connection that felt both thrilling and unnerving. Marco presented himself as a connoisseur of the dark and the strange, and his articulate descriptions of extreme experiences captured Alex's imagination like nothing else. There was an exquisite danger in Marco's words that excited Alex, creating a longing to explore the boundaries of his own understanding. Slowly, Alex began to open up, sharing more about his own fears and interests. He recounted tales he had read, curious about the minds of those who indulged in grotesque fantasies. Marco responded with fervor, often eager to push the boundaries of their discussions, revealing more of his own unconventional desires. "Have you ever thought about what it would be like to truly let go?" Marco would ask, each question striking a note of terror within Alex. Alex felt an intoxicating blend of fascination and fear toward Marco, drawn to his charisma yet wary of what lay beneath. Each exchange stirred something deep within him, a desire to explore uncharted territories, a longing for connection even in its darkest form. He started to question if his initial repulsion toward cannibalism and violence was merely a mask for a hidden curiosity. One night, while wrapped in the warmth of his blankets, his phone dinged with a new message from Marco. "Let's meet," it read, simple yet charged with implication. Alex's heart raced as he read the invitation. The idea both terrified and excited him. Meeting Marco could be a chance to step into a world that had both frightened him and intrigued him for so long. He contemplated the possibilities. What would it be like to confront danger face to face? As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of red and orange, Alex gazed into the mirror, wrestling with his reflection. Could he take that leap into the abyss? Was he ready to explore the depths of his own fascination with darkness? Despite the trepidation swirling inside of him, he felt an undeniable pull toward Marco, the irresistible attraction to danger clouding his judgment. With a deep breath, he decided to accept the offer, unaware of the shadows that awaited him. The day of the meeting arrived, a crisp autumn afternoon that transitioned into evening with a chilling bite of impending darkness. Alex felt a mix of excitement and dread as he made his way to the designated meeting spot, a secluded area at the edge of a forest, far enough away from the prying eyes of the city, yet close enough to the pulse of civilization. The trees loomed overhead, their bare branches intertwining like skeletal hands in a silent warning. Alex's heart raced as he approached the meeting point, the thrill of the unknown intertwining with an anxious uncertainty. He wondered what Marco would be like in person, whether he would carry the same charm and allure as in their online conversations, or if there was a more sinister side that had remained hidden behind the screen. As he reached the secluded grove, Marco emerged from the shadows, greeting Alex with a warm smile, his presence both commanding and magnetic. Dressed in dark clothes that complemented the somber surroundings, Marco looked every bit the charismatic figure Alex had imagined. Their handshake felt electric, sending a shiver down Alex's spine. "Glad you could make it," Marco said, his voice smooth and inviting. "I thought you might enjoy some exploration beyond your usual writing." His gaze held an intensity that made Alex feel both exposed and exhilarated. They began to walk deeper into the forest, the crunch of fallen leaves beneath their feet punctuating the silence. As they ventured further, Marco led them to a clearing, a spot where the moonlight filtered through the trees, creating a ghostly glow. It was beautiful and haunting, the perfect backdrop for what felt like a ritualistic meeting of minds. Marco gestured for Alex to sit on a fallen log, and as they settled in, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. "What do you really think about the ideas we've discussed?" Marco asked, leaning in closer, his enthusiasm palpable. "About pushing boundaries, about feeling alive in ways others can't even fathom?" Alex hesitated, a lump forming in his throat. "I find it fascinating, the psychological aspects, "But I don't know if I could ever go that far," he admitted, feeling the weight of Marco's gaze upon him. "Not every exploration has to be literal," Marco replied, his expression shifting from playful to serious. "But imagine the liberation of truly shedding your constraints, of embracing the most primal instincts." There was a fervor in his words, a passion that ignited something deep within Alex, a spark of curiosity chillingly intertwined with fear. As their conversation deepened, Marco began to reveal more of his desires, painting vivid pictures with his words, about the thrill of pushing limits, the euphoria that came from relinquishing control. Alex felt drawn in, the danger and excitement wrapping around him like a shroud. Time seemed to slip away as he listened, transfixed by the depths of Marco's vision. But beneath the allure of Marco's fascination lurked an unease that prickled at the back of Alex's mind, a warning that maybe some boundaries should never be crossed. As the night deepened, the shadows crept closer, encasing Alex and Marco in an almost suffocating darkness. The forest, once enchanting, now felt foreboding, alive with the murmurs of the night. Marco's fervent discourse echoed in Alex's mind, the lines between thrill and terror beginning to blur. "Have you ever thought about what it would be like to completely surrender?" Marco asked, a glint in his eyes that sent a shiver down Alex's spine. His words dripped with a seductive danger, each syllable wrapping around Alex's consciousness, pulling him deeper into a spiral of uncertainty. Alex's heart raced as he glanced around the clearing, suddenly aware of how isolated they were. "I appreciate the thoughts, Marco, but I don't think I could ever take it that far," he replied tentatively, attempting to maintain control over the conversation. But Marco didn't seem to hear him. His intensity only grew, and within his eyes, Alex glimpsed a flicker of something ominous. Then, with an abruptness that caught Alex off guard, Marco's demeanor shifted. "You say that now, but deep down, aren't you curious? Aren't you curious to see how far you can go?" Marco's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, as if he were unveiling a shared secret. Before Alex could respond, Marco revealed a glinting knife from his pocket, its blade catching the moonlight. Terror shot through Alex, and every instinct screamed at him to run. This was not the adventurous experience he had anticipated, but something visceral and menacing. "What are you doing?" Alex asked, his voice trembling. The questions revolved in his mind like a storm. Had he misread Marco completely? "Just a demonstration of what it feels like to let go," Marco replied, stepping forward, the knife flourishing in his hand. There was a wildness in his eyes, a need that Alex couldn't comprehend. Panic surged through Alex's veins. With a sudden burst of adrenaline, Alex turned and bolted into the woods, the underbrush tearing at his clothes as he stumbled over roots and branches. Marco's laughter echoed behind him, haunting and unrelenting. "You can't run away from yourself, Alex. Come back." His breath came in ragged gasps, the darkness around him becoming an adversary as he fought to escape the horror that lurked just behind him. Every beat of his heart pushed him forward, fueling the desperate need to survive. Adrenaline propelled him deeper into the forest, branches clawing at his skin as he navigated the terrain. The sound of his pursuer grew closer, and for a fleeting moment he dared to glance back. Marco's silhouette loomed in the dim light, a predator closing in. With sheer determination, Alex raced ahead, his mind consumed with the realization that this was not merely a philosophical discussion or an exploration of fear. This was a matter of life and death. He burst out of the tree line and into an open area, his lungs burning, but he pushed on. Marco's calls grew fainter as Alex pressed on, determined to escape the nightmare that had unfolded. His feet pounded against the ground, propelling him toward safety, but deep down, the chilling laughter of Marco echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder that the true horror lay not in the forest, but within the darkest corners of humanity and desire. Alex collapsed against a tree on the outskirts of the forest, his back hitting the rough bark as he gasped for breath. The night air was thick with adrenaline and fear, but the safety of distance was slowly settling in. He had escaped Marco, but at what cost? The weight of what had just transpired pressed down on him like a blanket of dread. In the following days, Alex struggled to return to the routines of regular life. The vibrant city felt surreal, as if it were a backdrop to a horror movie playing in his mind. He couldn't shake the images of that night, the glimmer of the knife, Marco's intense gaze, and the thrill of fear that had rapidly transformed into something predatory. The lines between reality and his earlier curiosities began to blur, leaving him with haunting questions. Each time Alex sat down at his writing desk, he found himself staring blankly at the page. Words evaded him, replaced by thoughts of escape and the seductive pull of darkness. The ideas that had once excited him now lodged like thorns in his mind, twisting and turning until he felt suffocated by the weight of his own obsession. Isolation crept back into his life, wrapping him in a cold embrace. He avoided the online forum where he had met Marco, fearing that the memories might claw their way back into his consciousness. Yet, despite his best efforts, curiosity gnawed at him incessantly, a consuming desire to understand the darkness that had drawn him to Marco in the first place. As the days turned to weeks, Alex became fixated on unraveling the reasons behind Marco's behavior, the sinister drive that had fueled a night of terror. He began researching psychological profiles of individuals like him, seeking an understanding of how curiosity could morph into something deadly. The more he learned, the more he was drawn into a spiral of fascination and horror. But with each article he read, each disturbing story he consumed, Alex felt himself slipping closer to the edge. The lines that had once signified safety began to fade, and he recognized that perhaps he wasn't merely an observer. Maybe the darkness stirred within him too. He struggled with the unsettling realization that he was slowly becoming consumed by the very horror he had once sought only to explore. In that state of chaos, Alex received an unexpected message that shattered the fragile peace he had carved for himself. It was from Marco. "I'm still waiting for you," it read, a chilling echo of their last conversation. The text sent a jolt of fear through Alex. The invitation was a reminder of the darkness he had hoped to leave behind, and it gnawed at him like an unhealed wound. Was Marco merely taunting him, or did he truly want to draw Alex back into that world of shadows? Nightmares taunted him, blurring his waking life with fragmented memories of the danger that lurked just beyond reality. Each moment of normalcy was punctuated with flashes of horror, and soon Alex found himself questioning whether he could escape his own fascination with the abyss, a fascination that now threatened to consume him whole. The days following Marco's message blurred into a haze of anxiety and dread. Alex felt as though he were walking a tightrope suspended over a chasm of darkness, teetering on the edge of his own sanity. The city, once a vibrant tapestry of life, felt suffocating, its noises echoing in his mind like the relentless reminder of what had transpired. He spent sleepless nights wrestling with the implications of Marco's words. The insidious grip of curiosity closed tighter around him, whispering that perhaps he should respond. Perhaps he should confront the darkness head-on, face the very thing that terrified him. But somewhere deep down, he knew the truth. That temptation was a double-edged sword. The computer screen glowed in the darkness of his apartment, its soft light illuminating the tortured lines of his face as he stared at the message again. The words resonated in his mind, an echo of the shadows that had coiled around him since that fateful night in the woods. "I'm still waiting for you." It wasn't just an invitation. It was a challenge, a beckoning call from the very abyss he had narrowly escaped. Alex's heart raced as he thought about his next move. There was a part of him that was drawn inexorably back to Marco, a maddening pull that throbbed in tandem with his curiosity. But in the depths of his thoughts, he recognized a deeper truth. The darkness, once thrilling and enticing, could very well consume him. Finally, After days of tormenting indecision, he made his choice. With trembling fingers, he typed a response. "I'm curious," he wrote, "but I need to understand what this is really about." It was a tentative step, a bridge back to the shadows he had fled, but also an attempt to reclaim agency over his choices. Marco replied almost immediately. "Then let's meet again," he said, the tone sinister yet magnetic. The message contained a location and a time. Alex caught his breath, adrenaline flooding his system again. The thrill of danger surged through him, the sweet taste of both fear and freedom intermingling as his mind spiraled back to that dark clearing in the forest. On the chosen night, Alex dressed carefully, hesitating at the door as the tension coiled around him. He had spent countless hours contemplating the impending confrontation, both terrified and exhilarated by the decision he had made. As he walked through the streets towards the forest once more, he felt as if he were trading his safety for a dance with the devil. The moon hung high, casting eerie shadows as he entered the familiar grove. The chilling anticipation of what awaited him mingled with the cool breeze that rushed through the trees. He was here, facing the darkness he had tried to escape, yet now he felt an odd sense of resolve. He would confront Marco, not as a willing participant in his nightmare, but as a witness to the depths of human obsession. As he stepped into the clearing, Marco awaited him, an unsettling smile dancing on his lips. "Welcome back," he said, his voice a silky invitation that sent both chills and excitement through Alex. In that moment, Alex understood that the true horror wasn't just out there in the physical world, but also within the confines of his own mind, a dark reflection of curiosity and terror that could lead him to unimaginable places.